You tidy, clean, organize, and the next minute, it looks like a hurricane has passed. Shoe thrown, wet towel on the bed, dish in the sink, something out of place. Sound familiar? If you live with someone who is messy, you know exactly what that feeling is, of being always redoing what you just did. But let me tell you something. It is possible to keep your house organized, even when those who live with you don't cooperate. And no, this doesn't mean fighting or giving up on having a home the way you dream. It means understanding the dynamics of coexistence, using intelligent strategies, and learning to take care of the home without carrying everything alone on your back. In this video, I will show you exactly how to deal with people who make a mess and still manage to maintain a light routine without stress and with the house functioning. And there's a tip in between that completely changes the game without the other person even noticing. Seriously, you're going to want to apply it today. Stay with me until the end, because peace in your home may be much closer than it seems. Have you ever wondered why keeping your home organized seems like a daily battle when you live with someone who is messy? You tidy a drawer, the next day it's turned over. Fold the towels, someone will go there and pile them all up anyway. You wash the dishes and suddenly there are 3 dishes in the sink again, as if you had an anti-organization person living with you. And then the cycle begins. You try to manage everything alone, because if you don't do it, nobody will. But this tires you, irritates you, and deep down takes away your peace within your own home. And the worst part, often those who live with you don't even realize how much this constant mess affects you. But look, that doesn't mean you need to live in this chaos or carry the world on your shoulders. The organization of the house, it doesn't have to be your own burden. And today's video is to show you exactly that, how to create practical strategies to maintain order, even when not everyone helps the way you would like. We're going to talk about how to deal with different profiles of messy people, from the distracted to the resistant, how to create systems that work themselves with minimal effort, and most importantly, how to take care of your mental health in the midst of all this, because you deserve to live in a home that welcomes you, not a home that tires you. Oh, and pay attention to 5th tip, because it is a key turn. It's the type of attitude that changes other people's behavior without needing to demand or complain. And that brings real results in everyday life. So take a deep breath, grab a pen and paper if you want, and come with me to discover how to keep your house organized even when sharing the space with people who, well, let's say, don't care as much about organization as you do. Tip 1. Accept that the other person will not change just because you want them to. This may be one of the most difficult truths to face, but it is also the first step to stop exhausting yourself. When you live with someone who is messy, the natural tendency is to want to educate them, show that it's easy to fold clothes, that it doesn't hurt to put away what you took out, that taking the plate to the sink takes 2 seconds. And of course, you're right. But there is a problem there. Waiting for others to change in their own time and in their own way is a recipe for frustration. The reality is that each person has a completely different rhythm, level of consciousness, and relationship with clutter. Some people grew up without organizational references. Others simply don't see clutter as something that needs to be resolved. So, when you insist, complain, or demand, what happens? Resistance. The other person closes down. You get angry, and the house becomes a battlefield, the opposite of the harmony you seek so much. Therefore, the first tip is, accept that the other person will not change just because you want them to. This does not mean conforming to chaos, but understanding that change needs to come from it, not from your demands. From this understanding, you stop fighting the tide and start building smarter solutions that work with less friction. In practice, this may mean starting to take control of some areas of the home with more autonomy without expecting immediate collaboration. For example, if the bathroom cabinet is messy and you are the one who uses it most, perhaps reorganizing it in a way that works for you would be more productive than waiting for someone else to change the way they store things. What's more, when you take away the burden of constant charging, your energy improves, and often this movement alone begins to generate changes in the other's behavior, not out of obligation, but out of influence. The direct benefit of this attitude: less stress, less frustration, and much more emotional clarity. You stop fighting against the other person's personality and start creating a system that works despite it. And this is the first step to having peace. Even living with someone who doesn't collaborate as you would like. Tip 2. Create visual, easy-to-maintain systems. If you live with someone who is messy, you may have noticed one thing. The more complex the way of storing something, the less chance that the person will collaborate. Asking to fold it, organize it by color, open a drawer, put it correctly. Many times, this is simply it won't happen. But there is a powerful way out of this. Transforming the organization into something so visual and so simple that even those who don't care about tidiness start to collaborate without realizing it. This is where the visual and easy-to-maintain systems, instead of requiring detailed organization, the focus becomes functionality and practicality. And this applies to everything, from the living room to the bathroom, from the kitchen to the bedroom. Want a practical example? Instead of asking someone to fold the towels the right way and stack them in the closet, how about using baskets or labeled organizing boxes where they just need to throw the towel in there? Ready. It's organized the way it is and clean the way you need it. It works and it doesn't wear out. Another example, shoes thrown around the house. A large basket at the entrance will do the trick. Or a support piece of furniture with easy-to-access niches. There's no point in creating fancy solutions if they are difficult to follow. The secret is to adapt the system the other person's level of disposition and not to its ideal organization. And here's a bonus. Labels are powerful allies. When you write socks, chargers, dirty clothes, keys, the brain more easily associates that place with its function. This avoids excuses like, I didn't know where to put it, and makes even the most resistant people start to collaborate, even if they don't realize it. The direct benefit of this approach is enormous. You reduce daily friction, you gain more control over the organization of your home, and begin to build a sustainable system, which does not depend on the goodwill of others, but on the efficiency of the environment. And this, in the long term, gives you back time, energy, and peace. Because when the house makes life easier, even those who make messes start to tidy up, without drama, without fighting, just with intelligence. Tip 3. Choose your battles and don't try to control everything. When we live with someone who is messy, it's very easy to fall into the trap of wanting control everything. Every object out of place seems like a sign of disrespect. Every dirty dish becomes a trigger for irritation. And little by little, you become that person who is always frowning, always correcting, always tired, but it comes at a high price. Your peace. Because even if you manage to keep everything tidy, the internal feeling continues to be one of constant tiredness, as if you were always at war with the house and with those who live in it. That's why this tip is so important. You need to learn to choose your battles. Not everything needs to be resolved. Not every misplaced towel deserves correction. Not every slipper in the middle of the room needs to become a sermon. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself and your home is let it pass. This does not mean being passive or accepting to live in the midst of chaos. It means being strategic. Choose what really bothers you, really, and focus on that. For example, if you can't stand dirty dishes in the sink at night, agree with the person that this will be a priority. But in exchange, maybe you'll accept that the sofa has messy cushions. It's balance. It's emotional trading. In practice, this gives you immense freedom. You stop feeling obligated to fix everything. You begin to tolerate small imperfections without it stealing your energy. And surprisingly, coexistence improves. Because when you stop charging for everything all the time, the mood becomes lighter, and the other person also feels more willing to collaborate. The direct benefit of this choice is profound. You preserve your mental health, reduce conflicts, and start living in a more harmonious home, even if it isn't 100% the way you would like. And you want to know? Sometimes 80% is more than enough for you to live in peace. Because in the end, having an organized home also means knowing what can and what doesn't be organized at all times. Tip 4. Involve each other with small tasks and value each action. One of the biggest mistakes we make when we live with someone who is messy is trying to convince them with long arguments, criticism, or constant demands. What happens? She closes, move away, and the atmosphere inside the house becomes increasingly tense. But there is another approach, much more effective. Include the person little by little with simple, specific tasks that make sense to them. And here, the secret is not to demand, but to involve. It works like this. Instead of saying, "You need to help more around the house," which is vague and generates resistance, you can say, "Can you put the dishes away from the drying rack today? That will help me a lot." It's direct, punctual, and feels less like a charge and more like a collaboration. And when the task is done, even if in a different way than yours, value. Say, "Thank you. That has relieved me a lot. Thank you for doing this today." This reinforces the action in a positive way, and little by little, creates in the other person the perception that participating is not a burden. It is part of being together. And don't underestimate the small tasks. Taking out the trash, drying the sink, picking up the clothes from the line. Sometimes people don't help because they think they need to do everything and feel overwhelmed before they even start. But when she understands that she can contribute something practical and quick, the chance of engagement increases greatly. Another trick that works well is do it together, at least in the beginning. Shall we fold these clothes quickly here while the series loads? It seems silly, but it creates a feeling of partnership. And this is the first step to transforming the culture of the house. The direct benefit of this strategy? You create a tension-free, collaborative environment. The other person begins to feel part of the process and not pressured by it. And the atmosphere in the house changes. The routine becomes lighter, more fluid, and home care stops being a solitary war and becomes a collective movement, even if in small doses. Because that's what living together is. It's not about forcing, it's about inviting. And all true change begins in the way we communicate. Tip 5. Create your own space. Clean, organized, and your way. When someone else's mess starts to invade everything, the feeling of lack of control increases. You walk into the kitchen and everything is out of place. He passes through the room and sees things thrown everywhere. You go to the bathroom and you feel like taking a deep breath before going in. And what does that do to you? It drains you, it exhausts you, it irritates you, and little by little, you feel as if you have no corner of the house where you can breathe in peace. This is why this tip is so important. Have a space that is yours alone, where you have complete control over the organization, cleaning, and energy. It could be a corner in the room, your dressing table, your desk, a closet, a drawer. It doesn't have to be an entire room. The important thing is that it is a place that you look at and think, "Here I rule, here I breathe." This space is your point of balance within the house, a refuge, a reminder that you have power over your environment, even if not everything around you cooperates. And you know what's more beautiful? This corner, when well cared for, begins to influence everything else. It gives you the courage to continue. He inspires others, even if subtly. And more than that, he gives you back the feeling of autonomy, which the mess sometimes steals. In practice, this means taking the time to keep this space clean, beautiful, and looking like you. Add a candle, a plant, a decorative item you love, organize it your way, and protect this space with care, without guilt, without justification. He's yours, and that's enough. The direct benefit of this attitude is emotional and profound. You create a place of grounding where you recharge, and when we have space to breathe, everything seems lighter. The other person's mess no longer seems so suffocating, and taking care of your home stops being a constant burden and becomes a possible, respectful, kind choice. Because keeping your house in order is not just about space, it's about how you feel inside it, and you deserve to feel good. Tip 6. Use example as a silent transformation tool. Sometimes we talk, explain, demand, repeat, and nothing changes. But do you know what has much more impact than words? The example. Yes, it may seem slow, but it is silently contagious, and when done consistently, it transforms more than any sermon. Think with me. You tidy up a corner of the house with care. Make everything beautiful, functional, and smell good. Don't complain, don't point out. It just does. A few days pass, and those who live with you start to notice. The reaction may not come immediately. There may even be jokes at the beginning. But deep down, the person feels the difference. The environment becomes lighter, more pleasant to be in. And that, in itself, is already starting to have an impact. It's like planting a seed. You don't force the flower to be born, but you water it, take care of it, give it light, and it emerges in its own time. The same happens with the behavior of those who live with you. When the others see, feel, and live the benefits of the organization, even without being charged, he begins to realize that it might be worth collaborating too. A real example, you start organizing just your part of the wardrobe. On your side, everything in place, folded, easy to access. On the other person's side, everything is messed up. Over time, visual comparison causes a little discomfort, but it's not that discomfort that generates a fight. It's the kind that makes you think, I could improve this too. This effect happens because humans respond better to what they experience emotionally than what he hears rationally. And this, applied to the organization of the home, is one of the most powerful ways to transform other people's behavior without confrontation. The direct benefit of this stance: you preserve the relationship, maintain peace within the home, and even inspire real change from the inside out, not the outside in. You become the balance point of the house, and little by little, the surroundings begin to follow. Because at the end of the day, example doesn't force, he invite. And every invitation made with constancy and respect has much more strength than any demand. Tip 7. Shift your focus from frustration to self-care. Have you ever noticed that when we focus too much on other people's mess, we distance ourselves from ourselves? Every dish out of place becomes a trigger. Every piece of clothing thrown on the floor irritates you. You spend the whole day trying to maintain control of the house, and in the end, you feel like you've lost control of yourself. Therefore, the last tip is perhaps the most important of all. Change the focus. Stop spending so much energy trying to fix what someone else does, and start putting that energy into your own well-being. Because when you take care of yourself, the environment around you naturally begins to respond differently. This doesn't mean abandoning the house or pretending that everything is fine. It means putting the organization in the right place in your life as something that serves you, not dominates you. If today you weren't able to make the room perfect, but you managed to have a coffee in silence in your tidy corner, that's already a victory. If the bathroom is substandard, but you managed to take a deep breath, light a candle, listen to good music while washing the dishes, you are living, and the house adjusts. Creating a home care routine is also creating a care routine for yourself, and that balance changes everything. When you prioritize yourself, fatigue decreases, anger gives way to lightness, and what previously seemed unbearable becomes just a detail. You realize that other people's disorganization doesn't have to mess up your internal world. And what's more, when you feel good about yourself, others notice. Your energy changes, and over time, this internal change begins to cause external changes as well, including in the attitude of those who live with you. The direct benefit of this choice is transformative. You free yourself from exhaustion, gain emotional clarity, and start living in a home that, even imperfect, welcomes you, supports you, and represents you. Because at the end of the day, home begins within us, and taking care of the house without losing yourself is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Did you see how it is possible to keep an organized house, even if you live with messy people? Throughout this video, you learned that the secret is not in changing others by force, nor in living in an eternal war over wet towels and dishes in the sink. The secret is in pick your battles, create smart systems, protect your energy, and put home care in your favor, not against you. You discovered that you can have peace without perfection, that you can keep the essentials in order, even if not everyone contributes their time, and that, yes, the silent example, the self-care rituals, and the spaces you care for with love have more impact than any complaint. Now I ask you, which of these tips will you put into practice today? Tell me here in the comments, and take the opportunity to share this video with that friend or relative who is overwhelmed trying to manage everything alone. Because sometimes all we need is a new look and a little more lightness. And if this video helped you in any way, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell. Because here every week we find real, practical, and welcoming tips to transform your home and your routine without weight, without perfection, and with much more well-being. Always remember, you don't need an impeccable house. You need a home that works for you, that reflects who you are, and respect your time. Because living with messy people can be a challenge, but when you organize yourself on the inside, nothing can disorganize you on the outside.